Hey all, and welcome to the data table management section of our video series on best practices for organizing workspaces in Terra. Terra data tables store and organize workflow inputs, sample metadata, and results for analysis. And well-structured tables help to improve efficiency and reproducibility. And one best practice to keep in mind when using Terra is to use a single data table to organize data associated with similar analysis, rather than creating unnecessarily separated data tables. And this is a key practice, as many labs tend to create a separate data table for each sequencing run. But this practice can cause a lot of downstream issues, making it harder to analyze multiple runs together. It also requires extra effort to compare results across the different data tables. And, in general, increases the chance of errors as it requires continuous updates of workflow inputs and configurations to account for the separated data tables. So instead of creating new tables for each sequencing run, the best practice is to use a single data table and add a column for run ID to differentiate sequencing runs while keeping all related data together. Here is a screenshot of a workspace showing the practice that I mentioned. In this workspace, you can see that two separate data tables were created, both of which are meant for analyzing Illumina reads that are separated by a run. And in the middle here is the first data table. And you can see that it has a sample name and read 1 and read 2 from an Illumina run. This is the same data stored in the second data table, but they're stored in separate tables. So here is the second data table in the same workspace. You can see that it's really the same data attributes. It's a sample name and read 1 and read 2 from an Illumina run. And these data are meant for the same type of analysis as we saw in table 1, but the data is separated by run. And this is really an unnecessary separation for these data that can cause a lot of downstream challenges with respect to assessing relevant results, especially in performing any kind of phylogenetic analysis that may pull samples from both of these tables. And so here's a screenshot of properly organizing these data into a single data table. This kind of organization greatly helps any downstream analysis of all of these data. And so what we've shown thus far is a really straightforward example for organizing Illumina data for the same type of analysis. And sometimes we get asked if ONT and Illumina data should be stored in the same data table. And the answer is, it really depends. If sequencing the same sample on different platforms, it's best to keep data tables separate to avoid confusion, especially if you are sequencing the same sample on two different platforms, as you'll want to ensure the separation of results that you'd like to compare. If, however, performing an analysis that requires both samples, for example, hybrid assembly, combine both data sets into a single data table, since the analysis will require both data types. As a rule of thumb, keep data separate when the analyses are separate, and combine data when the analysis require both data types. And so with these practices in mind, if your workspace has separate tables per sequencing run, you can combine them into a single data table. Terra allows users to combine data tables to streamline organization and analysis. Once merged, you can also delete old data tables to keep your workspace clean and manageable. Let's hop into a quick demo to combine and delete data tables. All right, so here is the workspace we highlighted in the slides prior. You can see that I have two data tables separated by run. To combine these data tables, I can simply copy each data table into an Excel sheet and update the A1 cell to the name of the new combined data table. So in this case, let's first start by copying the run 1 data table. I can do this by first selecting all samples, then clicking export, and from the dropdown, I can select copy to clipboard. From here, let's open up Excel. Once in Excel, I can paste what I've copied directly into a new spreadsheet. And then I can modify the A1 cell to the name of our new data table. In this example, I can simply call it Illumina data. Also, I'll add a run ID column and indicate that these data came from run 1. And then navigate back to Terra. Once in Terra, I can then select Import Data and choose Upload TSV. When the dialog box appears, I can select Text Import and simply paste the data I've copied and select Start Import Job. Once this is done, you can see my newly created data table available in my workspace. Now, to combine data, I can do the same for the Run To data table. First, I'll select all of my samples, then select Export and Copy to Clipboard, and then navigate back to Excel. In Excel, I can paste what I've copied directly into a new spreadsheet. Then I can modify the A1 cell to the name of our new data table. And again, I'll add my new Run ID column and indicate that these data came from Run 2. Then I'll select all of my data and copy this to my clipboard. And navigate back to Terra. From here, I'll select Import Data, then Upload TSV. In the dialog box, I'll select Text Import and paste what I've copied. And then hit Start Import Job. And with that, you can see my newly combined data table with both Run 1 and Run 2 data combined. To delete my old data tables, I can simply select the menu beside the data table and click Delete Table. And I can do this for both data tables. And that's how you combine and delete data tables to keep your workspace organized. All right, and so let's wrap up with some key takeaways. First, it's best practice to use a single data table for similar analysis. So, in general, try to avoid creating separate data tables for each new sequencing run. Instead, use a Run ID column in a single data table. It's also helpful to keep ONT and Illumina data in separate data tables unless you're performing analysis that requires both data types, such as hybrid assembly. When possible, it's best to merge redundant data tables and delete unnecessary tables to streamline analysis and maintain clarity. And that's it for this one. We hope this was helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.